Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the recap of It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. So glad you guys could be with us today. I'm excited about our program for those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. We're glad that you all could be with us for our wrap up show. Also, we're going to welcome in our friends over on Amazon, and we will get started with who's been the star of this series now for 10 plus 1 weeks. We're now live on Amazon Live for It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day, the recap. We're excited about having award-winning author Allie Dalsimer back on with us. Of course, it's been her book we've been discussing. You guys can see it here. It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. You guys can get it in print as well as the Kindle edition here on Amazon. For those of you joining us on social, you guys will find the link to be able to get your copy. This is our recap. We're going to talk to Allie not only about the series that she was so gracious to be a part of as we kicked off 2025, but also some of the things that's really stood out to her. I'm going to mention some of the weeks that really stood out to me, and we'd love to have your thoughts as well if you guys have already gotten your book. I was just saying to Allie, one of the things that May is recognized for is Get Caught Reading Month. So if you have not gotten your copy of the book, now's the perfect time to do it. Allie, my friend, so glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. It is my pleasure, as always, to be here with you.
Well, it's my pleasure. Well, Karen, hello to you over there on IG. Glad you could join us as we're kicking it off. I'm going to type a welcome message in for you guys over on Amazon. So, Allie, we've come to the end of the series, and for those who don't know how this all began, I had interviewed you before, and full transparency, I was working with Allie in being able to share the message of her book. It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. And one of the things I thought would be really good is using the platform of Amazon, but also using her message is for us to have a series to kind of talk about the book. So, Ellie, let's start back there. So here you have this crazy Mississippian coming to you, coming
Yeah.
to you with this idea about the series. What were your initial thoughts in the beginning?
My initial thought was, who would want to listen to this? Why?
Yeah.
And also, of course, I was nervous. I was so nervous. Although, even during our conversation, I decided to redefine that as excitement. But
Mhm.
I had a lot of trepidation. This is nothing I've ever done before. And like every other person in the world, leaning into something new can be a challenge. It can be a little scary. But yeah, I thought you were a little bit crazy, when you approached me with the idea. I definitely did.
Yeah.
But as always, you were right. So,
Well, I think my family would disagree with that part, Ellie, about me always being right. But I will say this: I asked you, and I've only done series very, very. I could literally count on one hand the amount of series I've done. Taz and I did a series for her book Transformation when it came out because that book spoke to me in such a big way.
mhm.
Another client that I don't think you knew, Mary Ellen Siganovich, she actually unfortunately passed away last year. She and I did a series based on her book, Truth, Taking Responsibility Unleashes True Healing was the acronym that book stood for. And then I had this series with you and Makita. So that's the only
Wow.
series I've ever done.
I'm in the
But
top five.
you're
I,
in the
I love
top five,
this. I love
right?
this.
So when I initially read the book, I didn't see the series initially the first time.
Mhm,
But when I was going back through when you and I started working together, Allie, and I don't think I've ever told you the story, when I
mhm.
was reading it, I was like, wait a minute. We could literally spend a whole show talking about this one this much. And I was like, wait a minute. Maybe that's what we should be doing. We should be spending time just talking about. So that's kind of how for me the idea was. So I'm like, okay. I think I went through my normal "Do you trust me?" thing because I always ask people that because I want you to feel comfortable, but I also want there to be a real buy-in to it, and I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity. And so as we were going through, and as you saw, people were tuning in, Allie, and
Mhm.
people have been enjoying it. Makita, when we were talking yesterday, she's like, I have it on my calendar to join
Yeah.
Allie and you
Oh.
on YouTube. What has that been like for you to know that these messages have really gone outside of you, Allie, and now being able to touch other people where they are in their lives?
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm so grateful to think. I even say at the end of the book, if this book helps even one person, then for me it's a success.
Hmm.
So having so many people respond so positively to it and to the messaging has just been, I don't know, icing on the cake, right? It's just all bonus. It's just all like the first place trophy kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
I've talked about how I raised my kids so that as long as they do their best in their various athletic competitions, that's a win. Actually winning is just bonus because doing
Yeah.
your best is all you can do. And
Right.
so for me, I feel like, it's a trophy because
Yeah.
it's a gift that I didn't anticipate, and I feel very incredibly uh, grateful, and also really touched in the sense that, that if this book has helped people, and that's
Yeah.
that's a very moving and meaningful meaningful thing, at least for me.
Yeah. And I think it will continue to do that. I think that's the beautiful thing about this. And for those who don't know, I mean, this, of course, this is not the initial book that Allie released.
Right.
But to have this expanded version really is so powerful. One of my favorite ones is based on what you just said, Allie. I'm going to be sharing it a little bit later. I'm curious, you and I were talking, and I appreciate you guys with all the hearts. We already have over 200 hearts over there on
Oh,
Amazon. So thank you guys so much for being. If you guys have any questions or comments for Allie, make sure you guys do put those in the chat. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in. Allie, was there a message that, as we were going through the series,
yeah.
that struck you differently as we were going through it than when you first wrote it?
Yes. In fact, this whole book struck me differently, and we talked briefly just before we went on about that.
Hmm.
um, because I'm a very different person than I was when I wrote this book.
Yeah.
I have proceeded along those stepping stones of my journey, and I'm in a very different place now. And one message that really struck me was, I'm a big believer in you have to choose to decide to take that step, right? You have to choose to, and for me, the choice to decide was huge. But now I'm at a point where it's like, I just have to choose everything, like my
Mm,
entire life. Like I've just expanded that and embraced it and realized that that's at the core of everything. We talked last week about just do it. Well, that's
yeah.
great, just do it, but you have to choose to just do it, right?
Hmm.
And making that choice, leaning in, daring to risk whatever the outcome is, to me is is really the core of it. And the thing that stuck with me so much was, you know, you what is the bigger risk? Like trying something and seeing what happens, or not changing anything, not doing that, and finding yourself in exactly the same place 10 years from now. Like which
Yeah.
one is really, you know, which one's really the bigger risk if you take a look at it that way? And so
Right.
that really struck me because I feel like that's where I am now. I'm embracing that and trying to live, I'm trying to maximize my personal potential, which is what this
Right.
whole point is, right? To lead you on a journey so that you can get to a point where you love yourself, when you can embrace your inner fabulosity, and then you can maximize your potential. And so I try every day to maximize my potential.
Yeah.
And reading the book from that perspective has just, the whole thing was different, but that particular message really struck me this time.
Well, over 500 hearts now on
Oh,
Amazon. Appreciate you guys so much. Makita's joining us on Instagram too. Makita gave you 3 hearts over there on
oh,
Instagram. Makita, glad you could join us as well. There was one. Just Do It was one of my favorite ones too, Allie. But I want to go to the first one that really had so many bells going off in my head, and that was the Sherlock Holmes quote. I
mm,
confess that I have been as blind as a mole, but it is better to learn wisdom late than never to learn it at all. And there were 2 things you wrote in this one that I think were so powerful. One, you said, all we truly control is what we do, how we react, who we spend time with, and how we choose to go forward. Talk to us about the importance of realizing that aspect, Allie, but also what you want the reader to understand about being able to work on the things they can actually do something about.
right. Yeah. I think too often we worry about things that we have no control over. And it leaches our energy, and it leaches whatever vitality we have, and it focuses us outward instead of inward. So you know, focusing inward, leaning into who you are, understanding what you enjoy, who you enjoy being with, the people and places that uplift you, and focusing your energy on um, actively choosing to engage with those people and be in those places and do those activities. That's where our energy needs to be, because that is truly all we control,
Yeah.
is what we do, which includes who we're with. And, we talked about how naysayers and bringers downers, and,
Right.
sometimes those people are in your family or they're people you've known for decades. You don't necessarily want to eliminate them, but, you can curate how much time you spend with them. You can curate what you share with them. You can, you control your actions and um, your priorities, right?
Mhm.
And in that way, you control your destiny to a certain extent. And there's just no point in worrying about things you don't control.
Yeah.
It's nothing you can do about them.
That's right. And you said this, and I think this is the big point for me, because one thing I used to do, no one was doing this for me, Allie. So I want to be clear about that. I had it bad about saying, well, I'm not as tall as this person. I don't look as good as this person. No one was saying you're not as tall as this person. You're not as good looking. Those were things I was saying because it's almost like, this sounds strange to say, but it's the best way. Almost like I was looking for reasons not to believe the good things people said about me by countering them in my mind with things that I saw.
Mhm.
But you say in the book, our paths won't be linear. We'll take a few steps forward, a few to the side, maybe a couple of small steps back. Overall, forward progress is the goal. Moving even a little is better than allowing a long slide backwards. I want to talk about that because a lot of this book, for me as a reader, Allie, is about the small step. Talk to us about when you realize the power of that instead of the big, lofty goal, of just the power of that small step that you could take each and every day.
Sure. I'd like to take a step back, though, and
Sure.
say something, if that's okay.
Oh, of course.
Because you say that you're telling yourself these things, you're not as tall, you're not as whatever. But I would counter that you are being told those things. You're being told those things every day. We
Mm,
have advertising, television, movies. We are bombarded with perfect people,
good point.
Instagram influencers,
Mm,
whatever. And the reality is that that's such a small minority of people. And yet we are conditioned to believe that we somehow should aspire to be those things. And
right.
the reality is that being those things, being taller or shorter, one is not better than the other.
Mm,
They're just not. It's just two different things. And whether you have blonde hair or brown hair, it doesn't it's so superficial, and we are conditioned to overvalue those things. And we're also conditioned, we've talked about negativity bias, we're over
right.
conditioned to retain and overemphasize the negative things that we hear about ourselves, even if we're saying them to ourselves. Negative self-talk is huge, right?
Yeah.
I talk about that in the book as well. But
Hmm.
negative self-talk is huge, and it's insidious, and it can eat away. And it's so important that we really, really accept our perfect imperfections, and that
Yeah.
we realize we are exactly who we are meant to be. We look the way we're meant to be, and we just are the beings that we should be. And when we embrace that and fulfill it, then we can move forward and really become the you were meant to be.
Right.
Um,
I
but
agree.
going back to your question, which I've forgotten now, can you repeat it?
Sure. Before I do that, let me say hello to Porchy Flows Bay Area, also on Instagram. Too. Sure. But my question was based on that passage in the chapter with the Sherlock Holmes quote
Right.
about the importance and the power of the small
Oh,
step.
small steps.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we learn it in kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
Chunk it out, right? If you have a big, long, complicated word, chunk it out.
Mhm.
If you have to create your whatever it is, your macaroni project, you got to get your construction paper, and you got to get your glue, and you got to get your noodles, and
Mhm.
then we seem to forget that. And we all too often, and this goes to the first part of what you said, we all too often compare ourselves to others.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, they're doing whatever. They have 100,000 Instagram followers, why don't I?
Mhm.
And the reality is, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
Yes.
So the fact is you have to take each step. That journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and you can't get to point B if you don't know where it is. So you need to identify your goal, but then you
Right.
have to set up your, I call it I talk about SMART, SMART, um, your smart steps. You have to have your very specific set. If you want to lose 50 pounds, you can't be like, okay, I want to lose 50 pounds. That doesn't work, right? You have to
Right.
say, okay, well, I would like to lose a pound a week. And in order to do that, I'm going to increase my activity, and I'm going to stop the late night, Haagen-Dazs, or whatever it is, right? And you have to come up with very specific steps. And each one of those is incremental, and it might seem small. But if you
Right.
take one single small step every day, a month from now, a year from now, you've taken a lot of small steps.
Yeah.
And we get too focused on the end goal, and we need to focus more on the journey and the process of
Hmm.
getting there, because the fact is change is hard, right?
Yeah.
Change is hard. It
Yeah.
takes effort. But you know
Mhm.
what? Make the effort.
Yeah.
If you really want it, make the effort, make the change, because you can do it. If you really want it, you can do it. And I'm fond of saying that if you think you want it and you keep not finding a way to do it, and you're not doing it, then you need to ask yourself if you really want it, or if this is some goal that's been imposed upon you by family, friends, society, culture, whatever. Because
Mhm.
if you really want it, who are you harming by not doing it?
Right. Such
So,
a great point. Such a great reminder there, Allie. I want to say hello to Miss Robertson. Hello, glad you could join us over there on Instagram. You guys over there on Amazon, appreciate you guys being with us. If you have not gotten Allie's book, I'm going to highlight the Kindle edition for you guys there. You can see you can get the Kindle edition or the book in print as well. Allie Dalsimer is our guest. She is the person we've been hosting this series with over the past 10 weeks around her book, It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. If you guys have not gotten your copy, this is a perfect time. May is recognized as Get Caught Reading Month, so it's a great opportunity to add a new book to your reading list, and one that's going to be helpful as well. As I think it's also inspiring, Allie, and as you were just talking now, we can tell your passion. We're going to come back to the book, but I want to talk about something that's developed since we've been doing this series, and that is Allie Dalsimer, the speaker. Talk to us about that, what that's been like for you to embrace. Talk about another step. What has that been
yeah,
like for you now to step into?
I will. But once again, I'm going to take a step back for a second and say May is also Mental Health Month, right?
Well, yeah.
And so my book really does speak to mental health, because mental health matters. And it's also
Mhm.
Mother's Day. I'm just saying, it's a good Mother's Day gift.
There you go.
But yeah, speaking has been amazing through this series, Cyrus, and giving me this platform has been wonderful, because I've done a lot of public speaking in my previous careers. I spent 30 years working in the environmental field, and did quite a lot of public speaking through that. And of course, when I ran for public office, I did a lot of public speaking.
Mhm.
But in both of those arenas, it was a very different type of public speaking.
Yeah.
And in my professional world, I was providing information about programs or whatever we were discussing. And then running for office, it was about political positions, or my opinions on different uh, policy issues or societal situations. But this is the first time through this podcast that I've had a platform where I've been able to speak about, personal things, myself, my journey, and and talk with others about helping their journey. And I've done some life coaching, and I've talked with people on a one-on-one basis and helped them with it. Um, but doing it on a broader platform and getting the feedback was really inspiring for me. And I've been asked to speak at a couple different groups, and so I did that, and found that I really loved it, and the response was good, and it helped me speak to more people. And
Yeah.
it's the conversations that happen after as well that are just great, right? Like, there's conversations when people come up to you afterwards and talk to you and ask you questions and engage, and that's just been wonderful. So I've been, learning how to do that, and looking forward to doing more. And it really is because of this podcast, Cyrus, this podcast that we've been doing, that I've taken this next step. So thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. I want to say hello to Bobo Go. I think it's pronounced Bobo Go. Please correct me on that. 2023 over on Amazon. He has already posted your website there. The chat, we appreciate that.
Thank
Bobo
you.
Go. But he also says, talking about what you said. He said so cool. She's speaking about leeches in life. Seriously, that's what we were talking about earlier. But he also mentioned about what we were talking about, accept the unacceptable and just go about the day. And also, and I apologize. I just saw the comments over on the side. Effort takes action, and action makes you move, and moving even to anything is hard, and that is so true. So Bobo Go 2023. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Oh, okay, that is right. Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us over there on Amazon. I appreciate all of you guys. I want to reset again for you guys who are just coming in. We have a great comment over on Facebook as well. Allie, see, and Allie thought she was going to spend this time all with me. Which I told her all the time. But for those who are just tuning in, this is a conclusion of my series with Allie Dalsimer based on her book, It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. It's been great having this conversation with her. Chris says something really great over on Facebook, Allie. This above all, to thine own self, be true, be unapologetically yourself. As a person that struggled a lot with spotlight syndrome, it's when I finally realized how self-centered everybody is. That's when I figured out people are too busy doing their own thing to focus on me and my shortcomings. Your book is a great tool to learn how to walk in your own greatness. Thank you, Ms. Dalsimer. Thank you for that, Chris. Thanks so much for joining us over there on Facebook. We're going to have to screenshot that
Yes.
and make sure that we get it if I can remember how to do it. I got it. Okay. All right. So, Chris, I really appreciate that. Appreciate you watching over there on Facebook. And keep in mind, guys, if you guys are coming in late, I see you guys coming over there on YouTube too. Don't worry, the replay of this will be up. I do want to go to the second message that really stood out to me. And again, as I mentioned, and you reference it to the just do it message. But I love what you said there. You say, when we find ourselves trying to complete particular tasks without success, and as much as we're able to, let's listen to the universe and shift gears. Listening to our inner voice and gracing ourselves the time and space we need is liberating. It allows us to live a harmonious and peace-filled existence. I want to talk about that because I think, and this goes to what I think the point that Chris was making too, and even Bobo Go as well, that a lot of times we don't give ourselves the grace that we need. I mean, there's enough externally going on, right? And I've referenced this myself, that we sometimes are so difficult on ourselves. I can't help but go back to earlier in the book, Allie, where you talked about your to-do list, because I could resonate with that as someone who has a to-do list every day, right? What has that been like for you to give yourself that grace of doing what you can, but also being proud of that?
Oh, that's a huge mind shift, right? That's a huge, huge mind shift. And it didn't happen all at once.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in many ways, that's the very first step towards self-acceptance, is understanding your limitations. Like I said earlier, embracing your perfect imperfections. And there are just some days where, it's okay not to be fabulous every day. There are just some days you cannot be fabulous. You just can't be all that every day. And some days you're just like, I talked about in the book that day that it was like I changed my sheets and made soup and combed the cat, right? Like that's what I accomplished. And you know what? That was great for me. That was actually all I could do in that day. And why should I berate myself for achieving what I started earlier, just this message about talking about how I raised my kids to be like, you do your best. If you get the trophy and you win, that's bonus. But if you do your best, you can't do more than your best. So I did my best and I accomplished these things. And I'm proud of myself for doing what I did. Because let's face it, we all know when we are not doing our best. Like, who are we fooling when we're like, oh yeah, I'm doing everything I can. Inside you're like, on cruise control. But you also absolutely know when you have done your absolute best. And regardless of the outcome, you should be proud of that. You'd
Mm.
certainly be proud of a friend who said, I'm struggling right now. This is all I can manage. And
Hmm.
you're going to say, well, that is amazing that you can manage that, and give them a hug. Well, be
Yeah.
that kind to yourself. You are the most important person in your life, you
Yeah.
know? So embrace that within yourself and allow yourself the grace and forgiveness that we're so quick to give to other people,
Right.
because it's huge. It's a huge way. It's a mind shift. It's a huge shift, right? And only you can shift your perception. Only you can embrace your inner fabulosity.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself the permission to do that is the first step to actually doing it.
Right. And Amazon says, and know who your true friends are. And I totally agree with that too. And Makita says, I still say Allie is fabulous every day.
Oh, bless your heart, Makita. I think you're pretty fabulous as well. I
Well,
love when you were like being upside down. What was it? Being upside down puts you in a
yeah,
state of non-resistance. I
right,
have
right.
so embraced that metaphorically, since I haven't physically been upside down, but I have metaphorically embraced that message, and really love that. So
With don't visit Makita, she'll have you doing it. Or there may be a reason to visit Makita. I don't know.
maybe I should visit Makita.
So, Ellie, for you, I do want to ask you, and again, I appreciate this time, and I appreciate all of you guys sharing this with us. This has been, I've had the best time with this, Ellie. I've enjoyed every week. Looking forward to our time, and Ellie will be back on Cyrus Webb Presents, our regular show, because she has some other things going on. Ellie is also one of the speakers of our upcoming event that's going to be an exclusive to Amazon Live, which you guys will be hearing more about next week. But it's a special panel that we put together of some amazing women. And that's going to be on Saturday, May the 17th. Again, you guys will be seeing details about that. Al is one of the speakers around that as well. The whole thing is centered around mothers and daughters in different ways. So each one of the speakers will be coming at that topic in different ways. But that's going to be a totally free event there on Amazon for you guys, exclusive to Amazon. It won't be on social media. So you guys have to join us on Amazon. But again, you'll see our promo start for that next week. Ellie, in our final thoughts here, is there a message for those who have not gotten their copy of the book yet? We're going to let them know, of course, how to stay connected with you. But for those who pick up It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous every day, what do you hope the book does for them?
I hope that it provides a roadmap, a set of stepping stones that will lead them on the journey. The subtitle of the book is A Journey to Self-Discovery. And I hope that it will do that for them, because I really honestly believe that every person is worthwhile. I believe their dreams are important. And I believe they really can achieve the life they were meant to live if they embrace who they are and if they do the work to get there. So I would hope that they would pick up my book and look at it as a roadmap, something they can pick up and put down over, over the weeks, over the days, over the months, whatever it is, because it is a journey, and as you mentioned just a minute ago, sometimes you take a side step, sometimes you take a little back step, but
Right.
anything that will keep you from falling down that spiral, that long slide down into darkness and depression, you want to not go there.
Yeah.
And I hope that my book keeps you moving forward, or at least keeps you treading water while you're going on your journey.
Yeah. You got a nice comment over here on Amazon. It says, I think Allie and Jordan Peterson would be friends. Jordan Peterson's a great speaker and author as well. Thank you for that. I think it's such a great thing, Allie. I know that people will. What my hope is that yes, the series is ending. But my hope is that we're able to continue to share the messages of Allie's book with you guys on all the platforms. As I mentioned, Allie will be coming back to Amazon, of course. She'll be on our radio show. As I mentioned, she's going to be on our Amazon exclusive event we're having Saturday, May 17th. But my hope is that the book will not only resonate with you now, but also, as you heard Allie say about she is a different person, that you'll be able to look at the book and say, I remember when I was there and now I'm here. So that's part of my hope too, that the book will continue to reach you where you are. And I think that's a great thing. So Allie, we could not have had this series without you. So thank you again for writing this book. Thank you again for trusting me to be a part of this. Let our viewers and listeners know how to stay connected with you.
100%. You can find me on all the socials. You can sign up for my newsletter at AllieDalsimer.com/newsletter. Tomorrow's issue is going to be on finding calm in the center of the storm, with a lot of tools and resources. So hopefully that'll speak to people, because it is a very turbulent time right now.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Cyrus, for offering this opportunity and reaching out, because I've enjoyed our collaboration on this a great deal. And I really appreciate everybody tuning in and sending those supportive messages and hearts. That's like really awesome.
Yeah, appreciate you guys as well. Bobo Go 2023 says, live, love, life. I said 3 words so unspoken, and I totally agree with that as well. Allie, it's been a great way for us to send off this particular season. Doesn't mean we won't be back, guys. Doesn't mean we won't be back for another one. Just saying. But but until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.